Thank you all for joining this webinar entitled Managing Multiple Data Sources with Modern Helix CMDB. My name is Charlotte Davidson. I work with the CMDB product set. But first, let me show you this legal notice. This is a public session, and by participating you have consented to be recorded. Please be mindful that any information shared can be seen and heard by others. In this call, I will discuss what are datasets and why they're important, give an overview on reconciliation, including the problems that reconciliation can solve, and finally an overview on identification, merge and purge activities. Datasets are used to create a logical grouping of CIs created by different data sources. These could be from BMC Discovery, other discovery tools, one of the integrations with CMDB such as the SCCM integration, other integrations using Atrium Integrator, or by manual update via asset management. For each source of data, you should have a separate dataset. By default, CMDB has several datasets. The first and most important is BMC Asset. This is the golden or production dataset that you treat as a single source of truth for all the CIs in your organisation. Other datasets are nothing more than a staging area for the data that the organisation's other tools collect about information in the environment. Do not update BMC Asset directly. Data found in the production dataset is normalized and reconciled to this dataset. All other datasets should have their data updated via the tool used to get the CI information. For example, BMC Discovery imports data into the BMC ADDM dataset and should never be updated by any other tool or manually by a user. So to take a look at the datasets, we can click Datasources, Manage Data Sources, but this shows the data sources related to datasets. So if you want to see all the datasets, we can click here. So if you want to have a look at the properties, you click and we can see the dataset properties when it was created. And if you want to create a new dataset, remember, don't add data source, use the add dataset to add the dataset here. Also, do not, from this menu, select add new data source, because that will add a data source, not a dataset. So you have to come to this console to add the dataset. When you have multiple service providers importing data about your company asset or configuration items, there may be instances when the data for the same asset is stored incorrectly as multiple items and carrying different information. You can use reconciliation to eliminate this duplicated data, retain only relevant information, and store asset data that is correct and complete. The reconciliation process compares data from multiple data sources and aims to create a single, complete and accurate production dataset. This production dataset becomes a source of reference for other applications such as ITSM and other ITIL processes. Using the production dataset ensures that applications consuming this data always use a complete and unique record of the CIs. A reconciliation job is a container for reconciliation activities. When creating a reconciliation job, you can add activities such as identification, merge and purge, each one of which defines one or more datasets and rules for that activity. In addition, you can use a qualification set to restrict the instances participating in a reconciliation activity. The other activities available to use are compare, copy, delete and execute. Jobs can use standard or customized rules. Standard rules use default rules to identify and merge activities and automates the creation of reconciliation jobs. You can also create custom jobs that include different activities. To create a reconciliation job, select Jobs, Manage Reconciliation, and then select Create Job. Set the name. If you only want to process normalized CIs, check this option. If you want to use custom identification rule set, uncheck the Use Standard Rules for Dataset. I will keep using the standard rules for this job for the moment. Right, so now I'm going to add an activity, which is the identify activity. You can see here the name is set already, but you can change it to the value that you need it to be changed to. Right, so set the source dataset to the dataset where you've imported your CIs and you want them to be reconciled into either BMC asset or an interim dataset. Here I'm going to choose BMC ADDM. So as I said before, if you want to reconcile into BMC asset, leave the default value here. However, if you're using interim or datasets, then you can select that dataset here too. Select Generate IDs if you want CIs that have no match in the target dataset to be given a reconciliation ID automatically. If you check here, you can see that we're using the standard rules, and you can click on this link and it will give you all the standard rules for the CIs. Note, this is only for viewing. You cannot change rules here. Use the default use all cases and instances. However, if you want to use a qualification to restrict the CIs processed by this activity, uncheck and then select the qualification rule set you have previously defined here. So if I just show you now, I've unchecked, we click Select Qualification Rules, and here you can see if you wanted to use this rule, then you could click OK. Right, now I'm going to add a merge activity. Again, if you need to change the name, change it here. So again, we need to set the source dataset, which will be the same as the one that you checked for the ID activity. Now, if you want to merge multiple datasets into the same target dataset, then you can actually choose more than one dataset here. So if I say BMC sample, you can see that the source data says multiple datasets selected, and you can see them set here. I will just use BCCM ADM for this one. And then again, your targets dataset is the dataset you want to merge your source CIs to. So this could be an interim dataset or BMC asset. Again, you can use a qualification. And then here, if you wanted to use a custom precedent association set, you can change this here. So you select that button, and you can see the precedence exceptions for the dataset for the default merge precedent sets. If you had other precedence association sets, you could use this drop-down list to choose the one that you need to use. By default, the merge order is set to by class in separate transactions. This is the best one for performance. And what happens is when using by class in separate transaction, the CIs are merged one class at a time. So only after CIs in a class merged, the CIs from the next class are merged. If you select related CIs in one transaction, all the CIs are merged at the same time. If you select related CIs in separate translations, only CIs belong in a hierarchy, for example, a computer system and its components, are merged at a time. Right, so now I'm going to add a purge activity. And you can see here the rest of the activities you can select are execute, copy, compare and delete. So change the name if you need to. The source dataset would be the one used in the ID and merge activities. If you want to purge user qualification, then set that here. If you want to purge identified and unidentified CIs, keep the default, or you can check unidentified or identified. If you want to select verify soft deleted in data target, then the process will check the CIs where markers delete is yes in the target dataset, and you select the dataset here. So this could be BMC asset or your interim data. If you want to schedule your job, then you can select here. Now you can select continuous to run every 1800 seconds, or you can set it to run other times, for example weekly, or you can set that to Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and you set the time. And here also you can delete your schedules. And now I'm going to save. And if we see here, we can see my new job all set with the merge and purge activity. And if you notice here, we have the sequence here means that the identify activity will be processed first, then the merge, and then the purge. Right, next I am going to give an overview of the main reconciliation activities, which are identification, merge and purge. Identification is a process where two datasets are evaluated to find already existing CIs that are the same. This is almost always the first action in any reconciliation job. To understand the identify process, here is a scenario where an operating system record is found in 3 different data sources. The first data source, org AI spreadsheet import. This record was imported using a spreadsheet that Atrium Integrator collected. Since it has not been reconciled yet, it does not have a reconciliation ID. In the example, only operating system is imported. It has no parent relationships to another CI, which usually would be a computer system. It does also not have a token ID, which is used by Discovery, and doesn't have a truly unique name or serial number. When the identify action is run against this dataset, the following steps will occur. 1. The CI is evaluated for its normalization status. Since this record is never normalized and approved, then the record is skipped. So the next scenario is from the bmc.addm dataset. This record was created by an automated discovery product using a routine scan of the CI. Since it has not been reconciled yet, it does not have a reconciliation ID. In this example, the operating system CI was imported along with its parent computer system CI. It also does not have a token ID, which is used by Discovery, and it doesn't have a truly unique name or serial number. Although the computer system does have these values, When the identify action is run against this dataset, the following steps will occur. The CI is evaluated for its normalization status. Since it was approved, proceed to the next step. The CI is evaluated for a parent relationship. In this case, it has a parent computer system, which makes the operating system CI a weak CI. The identification rule for the parent computer system CI classes are now evaluated, but it already has a reconciliation ID. No further evaluation is needed of the parent CI. The reconciliation engine now moves on to reconciling the children of the parent. In this scenario, it will look at the operating system CI record. Reconciliation then sees if there are any operating system records in the production dataset with the same token ID that are also related to the computer system. No records will be returned as the token ID is 0 and no existing relationships to the computer system record exist. Reconciliation engine then sees if there are any operating system records that have the same name and serial number. This will also fail since there are no existing records. After all rules have been evaluated, a reconciliation ID is auto-generated and written to the operating system CI. In this scenario, the parent and the relationship are unaffected and will be ready for the rest of the reconciliation process. The next scenario is from the BMC Asset Sandbox dataset. This record was created by asset users who manually created the CI. Since it has not been reconciled yet, it does not have a reconciliation ID. In this example, the operating system CI was imported along with its parent computer system CI. It also does not have a token ID, which is used by Discovery, and does not have a truly unique name or serial number, although the parent computer system does have these values. When the identify action is run against this dataset, the following steps occur. The CI is evaluated for its normalization status. Since it was approved, proceed to the next step. The CI is evaluated for a parent relationship. In this case, it has a parent computer system, which makes this operating system CI a weak CI. The identification rule for the parent system CI class is now evaluated. The first computer system identification rule is based on token ID. This results in a search on the production dataset. The existing computer system record is found as the token ID produces a match. The BMC Asset Sandbox datasets computer system CI reconciliation ID value is now updated with the production dataset computer system's reconciliation ID value. The reconciliation engine now moves on to reconciling the children of the parent. In this scenario, it will look at the operating system record. Reconciliation engine then sees if there are any operating system records in the production dataset with the same token ID that are also related to the computer system. No records would return as the token ID is 0 and no existing relationships to the computer system record exist. Reconciliation engine then sees if there are any operating system records that have the same name and serial number. This will also fail as there are no existing records. After all the rules have been evaluated, a reconciliation ID is auto-generated and written to the operating system CI. In this scenario, the parent and relationships are unaffected and will be ready for the rest of the reconciliation process. This set of scenarios highlights a key reason why multiple reconciliation jobs should not be run at the same time. If this scenario was duplicated in an environment and all three datasets had their own reconciliation job and it ran at the same time, the BMC ADDM and the BMC Asset Sandbox datasets operating system records could end up with two different reconciliation IDs. This will later result in duplicate CIs. so do not run reconciliation jobs in parallel with each other. Thank you for joining this webinar.